advice to me was to simply give her painkillers so she wouldn't suffer and regretfully accept the fact that the disease must complete its course. We have 3 kids, and at the time they were 3, 7, and 9. That flashes into your mind at that point. This is Thanksgiving Friday. We're a month away from Christmas. So I basically looked at him and said, "Doc, can I ask you a question?" He said, "Yes, of course. I understand you're in a time of great need." I said, "Why did you waste so much good time and money going to medical school? You don't need an education to shoot yourself up with narcotics. It happens on street corners with people who don't know how to read and write." He was a bit startled, and so I was on a roll. I was like mad. So I basically, I said, as far as I'm concerned, if one person looks at another one and tells them to just fill themselves up with drugs so they don't feel anything and wait for death, that's a dealer talking to a junkie. Then he got offended. So he said, "How dare you talk to me that way?" Basically said, "How dare you tell me I throw my wife away like an empty can of Coke?"
Right.
So, without even waiting for a transfer, I pulled her out of that hospital, signing an AMA, against medical advice. Took her straight to the Baptist Hospital in Miami, where we met our guardian angel, Dr. Paul Kawin. He basically told me that the only thing we could do for Anna was to initiate 4 types of cancer treatment simultaneously. Because if we attacked one aspect, the other openings, so to say, would just eat her alive. So Anna started with, a tremendously aggressive treatment. She would get radiation to the brain first thing in the morning, chemotherapy straight into her spinal fluid through a special valve in her skull, and 2 types of chemotherapy through her bloodstream, all in the same day. She was down to 78 pounds at one point. She was hospitalized for more than 4 months. She spent another 4 months in bed. It was bad. And at the same time, you have to take care of your kids. So I couldn't handle the phone calls. I was getting dozens and dozens of phone calls a day, and every phone call was 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And the only thing that's fair to everyone on earth is the 24 hours a day has. So I only had so many 30-minute gaps to speak with people. So I would tell people, "Please don't call me, I'll write to you. I'll write you an email, give me your email." And that list started to grow. People started resending these emails to others. Today that list has close to 5,000 people from all over the world. And the mental exercise of having to just look at what had happened in the last 24 to 48 hours and write something positive about it was so helpful for me as a caregiver. And on top of that, it was so helpful for us. People just started pouring into the hospital. We're Catholic, not too hardcore. I didn't care who you were in a very positive way. We had everybody coming. We had rabbis, Jehovah's Witnesses, Buddhists, whatever. They all came in. Anna is alive today because literally thousands of people in the world asked for this to happen. The positive energy, the belief, the faith, that's what got her out of this hole. Regardless, on top of the doctors, obviously. And in all of this mess, one of the most important pillars of support were the friendships that we forged during our 7 years as relayers. I don't know how I would have been able to confront all this if I hadn't had the experience of dealing and speaking to so many ex-cancer patients, cancer rejects, like somebody said yesterday. So I really, the torture of not knowing if your wife, the person you love, adored from day one, is not going to make it, or at least that's what you're told. That even Dr. Kawin said a week before Christmas, she has a 3% chance to make it alive to the end of January. And so that's when the real problem started, because I just said, I'm not going to pay attention to the 97%. I'm going to hang on to that 3%, and they're going to have to pull it out of my hands, with fingernails and all. So I was told by a psychiatrist that I had no sense of reality. said, okay, why don't I have a sense of reality? Well, because you're optimistic. And I said, no, I'm rational. I'm telling you, I'm only going to focus on the 3%. And on top of that, I said, if I was not rational, if I had no sense of reality, I wouldn't have signed the waiver. I'd have said, she's fine, just give her standard treatment. So, regretfully time is against us here, and we're running out. But just the most important, one of the most important things I kept in my mind all the time were our 3 kids. And at the time they were 3, 7, and 9, 2 girls and a boy. And the most important thing I promised myself was, I knew that my kids were growing up, and if Anna didn't make it, each one of them, in their own moment of maturity, was going to look me in the eyes one day and say, Dad, did you really do everything you could? And the most important promise I made to myself was, I will never be embarrassed of that question. I didn't work for more than a year taking care of my wife. The bottom line is, since April of last year, she has no more cancer activity in her body. She started to stand in June of last year. By August, she was declared officially in absolute remission. In November, she was walking up and down the stairs at home, and since March, she doesn't use a walker anymore. So I could brag about her all day long, but an image is worth 1,000 words, they say. So I'd like to present to you Miracle Girl herself, one tough cookie, my wife, Anna.